Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. I am your host, Giovanni, the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach, and I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate stress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods. Y'all, thanks for vibing with me today and coming on and tuning in. So if you don't recognize him, he was already on the podcast before, but it's okay. We're going to catch you up to speed. We got Dr. Wright in the building with We Can Win. But before we get into it, you already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Yo, Dr. Wright, welcome back to the studio.
Y'all vibing over there in Power Plays.
Man, Dr. Wright, let everybody know who you are.
Yeah, y'all, I'm nobody. I'm just Dr. Eddie Wright, CEO of with the We Can Win Foundation, a local nonprofit here in the Dallas area that deals with prostate and breast cancer issues in the African American community. Yeah, that's who I am. That's what I do.
That's a beautiful person to be. That's a powerful position to be in, as well as a purposeful one. So I thank you. Thank you. So Dr. Wright, could you share a bit about your personal journey with prostate cancer and what really motivated you to start We Can Win?
Yeah, I love talking about this story. I really do. But first of all, thanks again, my friend, for having me on your podcast. It's always a pleasure to hook up with you, whether it's in, at work or any kind of other environment. We all vibe together, have a great time. So I appreciate you having me to be able to share some of this experience. But yeah, I'm a prostate cancer survivor. Was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2012, low-grade prostate cancer, and carried on through the journey from 2012 to 2018 when I had an outpatient procedure through UT Southwestern Radiation Oncology. And the good thing about this thing was it, with all of the stress and the trauma that hearing the word cancer causes in someone, I had a real cool village that's still with me, my children, my spouse, my family, really still with me through the whole journey. And then in 2017, I was seeing a radiologist over at the VA hospital here in Dallas, and he said that something different was going on. And I didn't understand what that meant, but he said something different was going on. And so he wanted me to see a urologist over at UT Southwestern. So started going over there in 2017. Until that time, I did what's called active surveillance or watch and wait. That's where you actually you go every 3 months. The urologist or the radiologist takes a look at your prostate. They do examinations, different types of examination, from DREs, which is a digital rectal exam, to a clip biopsy or MRIs, or some doctors do sonograms. But from 2012 to 2017, I went through 6 biopsies, which was way too much for any one person to ever have to experience. And so had the procedure in 2018 of December. And here I am, doing good, living well. Can't complain. God has blessed me. I'm able to reach out and, like the song said, I'm able to reach out and touch a whole bunch of lives. And I never expected this thing to really do what it's doing today, my sister, because the intent was to meet with a small group of African American men in my community and just talk about prostate cancer. But as time went on, I started hearing stories. African American men telling me that they didn't know, just like I did. I didn't know what prostate cancer was. I didn't know what a prostate was. I was 52 years old. I'm like, man, what is a prostate? I have no idea what this is, right? And so I started hearing those same
stories. What is a prostate?
Prostate, come on, man, right? And I consider myself to be, fairly educated and, been around a few folks, but I didn't know because no one was telling us. So because of this, Black men were dying at an extremely high rate of prostate cancer, and we still are. we'll get into that a little bit more as you progress. But um, you know, the conversation that I was having with some of these brothers that I was running into was incredibly crazy because I'm like, wait a minute, man, you're 50 years old and you never had a PSA to check your prostate? Like, oh man, I'm not messing with these doctors like that, right?
And Dr. Wright, you know, you can't just be dropping terms like we supposed to know.
Oh,
So
I got
what
you.
is
I
a
got you.
PSA?
I got you. PSA is prostate specific antigen. So it's a blood test where the radiologist, whomever going to be testing your blood, that's something that they look for in your blood to determine what's called the Gleason level, uh, which helps them to determine whether or not a man has prostate cancer. So if your PSA comes back zero point 0 to 4.0, you're good to go. However, if it's anywhere over that, even minimal, they start to take a different approach, a different look at what's going on with your prostate. For instance, my PSA went from 0.5 to a 5.5 in less than 12 months, which was concerning for my doctor at the time in California. And it was heartbreaking because they sent me to get a biopsy over at the Palo Alto Medical Foundation in Palo Alto, California. And I was planning a trip to go to Jamaica, and doctor told me, well, it's going to be about a week before we get your results back. So, just go on and do what you're going to do. However, while waiting to take a plane to Jamaica, I get a phone call from the radiology department at Palo Alto Medical Foundation telling me that they found a small trace of prostate cancer. And this is what they told me. But don't worry about it. It was only as small as the tip of an ink pen. Whoa, dude, you just told me I had cancer and you tell me don't worry about it all in one breath, right?
Right. That, and I think that's crazy within itself because we always hear people talk about how fast cancer can spread. And
Absolutely.
so just by you telling me is this small, but you're saying don't worry about it, go have fun. It's
Right.
like, but what's the plan? Like what's next? Like what do I need to really know about all of this? And I'm glad
Exactly.
you said that because Dr. Wright, a lot of times when we get health diagnosis and people tell you you have something or they say this is what the lab showed or this is what we suspect, a lot of these things we've never even heard about.
That's right.
You never even heard about prostate cancer. What is a prostate, as a man? And for me it was um endometriosis. And I'm like, endometriosis? Like, what is an endometriosis? Like, what is happening? And they say these things as if you're supposed to understand or know. And they don't have a lot of time to truly educate you. So then you go out and you try to find other places and other things to kind of bridge the gap in to get you more informed. So
Right.
that way you kind of have an idea what this life is going to look like now, knowing what's going on with your body.
Yeah.
And so with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome, I didn't know anything about these things. And a lot of the signs and symptoms that I had, I didn't know they weren't normal. Painful bowel movements, facial hair, irregular periods. Sometimes my periods just didn't come on, and it was like, oh, well, you're active, or maybe it was something you ate, or if you're stressed, you're not going to have it. So it was all these different reasons people were saying my body was doing the way it was doing, like responding the way it was responding because it was just natural. It's just your body. Things just happen. But the beautiful thing I like about you is you didn't know a lot about prostate cancer. But
Right.
once you got your diagnosis and you started going through your own healing journey and you realized how it was impacting other people, you wanted to be visible and vocal about it. And it
Absolutely.
was nonprofits like yours that are absolutely needed because it was Endo Black when it came to me that said, they were representing Black women with endometriosis. That's where I went to go try to figure out what was really happening. And you have to have these resources in the community for people to really know what's going on so they know how to navigate their healing journey. And so I just appreciate you being transparent about that, but also knowing how important it is to be visible and vocal in these underrepresented communities
That's
like
right.
the Black community, like African Americans, because it always hits us differently, impacts us differently, I think that's it. But when it comes to impacting us differently, when it comes to prostate cancer in the African American community, why do you believe that early screening and cancer awareness is even important for us to even be talking about?
Look, it's the number one thing that should be talked about in the Black community. Early detection and screening is the way to discover whether or not you have prostate cancer. Um, uh, Prostate cancer is 99% curable. However, there's a big disparity in the African American community when it comes to the medical community. You have one side of these doctors saying, they should get tested at 40, another saying, now they can wait till 45, others saying, they don't need to be tested. Oh, really? And I mean, they use these words, they who are you talking about? Right. And so when you look at early detection and screening, Giovanni, the thing is, if we catch this thing early enough, like they did with mine, it's 99% curable. Now, if you have a history, prostate cancer in your family, father, grandfather, great grandfather, whatever, if you have that lineage, then you should start testing at 40. Black men should start testing at 40. Not just black men, but Hispanic men as well. Now, here's the disparaging part of this thing. African American men are dying at 6 times the rate of any other race. Can't figure that out. Nobody knows why, right? This year alone, 2024, the American Cancer Society predicted that nearly 300,000 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. 300,000, right? And if you look at those numbers and try to figure it out, in Texas alone, 17,000 men were going to be diagnosed in 2024.
And what do you think? Your own thoughts. Why do you think these numbers are the way they are? And is it even possible to slow them down or reverse them and it go in a totally different direction? Like, what are your absolute thoughts on that?
Okay, so I'm not a medical doctor by degree. My doctorate degree is in Christian theology. However, the way to slow this thing down is to get these brothers to go to the doctor and have a prostate exam, have a PSA test. You gotta go to the doctor. You cannot sit around in your living room watching baseball games and soap operas and thinking that this thing's just gonna go somewhere. Because every man, not just black men, but every man, by the time they're 60, is gonna have some issues with their prostate. So how do I know that I have prostate issues? You don't know until you go get a PSA test. Because a good friend of mine that I've met, I actually sat on a review panel with her, Landy Muldrow out of Los Angeles, wrote, directed, produced a documentary called The Silent Killer, prostate cancer in the African American community. Man, you watch that movie, it'll bring you to tears, right? Because prostate cancer has no symptoms. It has no symptoms. You don't know you got it. You'd be walking around, be a walking dead man. PSA, I've met men whose PSA was at 47, 87. You know, that's crazy. You're a walking dead man by then.
And what's it supposed to be at? Like,
what's those numbers? A normal PSA is 0.0 to 4.0. That's normal.
Oh, then yeah, that's clearly not the small of a, what they say, a pin when they found yours.
Yeah, it was like the tip of an ink pen. But when you look back, in retrospect, when I had my procedure, my PSA was at 10.0, right? So what if I wouldn't have had that procedure? What if I didn't have it? I'd probably be dead today. More than either that or I'd be in a serious stage of advanced prostate cancer. However, I go and get tested every 6 months now. My last PSA test, now listen to this now. I started off at 10.0 in 2017, right? 2018, had the procedure. I was still at 10.0. PSA went up and down, roller coaster. They said, that's normal. It's supposed to do that. Well, the last PSA test I had, my PSA was at 0.07. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, so the procedure worked. And guess what? It was a clinical trial. It wasn't some brand of medication that they've been using for 100 years. This was a clinical trial, newly developed at UT Southwestern Radiation Oncology, right?
So I have a question about that, and then it was something else that came about. So, what made you go with that clinical trial? What made you say, you know what, I'm gonna try it? Just like you said, it's not
Yeah,
something that was out there studied. What made you say, you know what, I'm gonna go this route?
yeah.
What made you commit to that journey for
Like
yourself?
I walked into UT Southwestern. I met two people. One was Dr. Hanan, who's one of the most notable urologists in North Texas, and a nurse practitioner named Tamara Dickinson. And Tamara and I are like brother and sister now. We have that kind of relationship. I mean, that relationship grew. It's more than just a medical team. But what happened was I walked in that room. They took all of my little, little triage stuff, and then here they come. Here's what surprised me. They pulled up a chair. I'm sitting on the little bed. They pulled up chairs. They sat right in front of me and looked me right in my eyes. They said, "Miss Wright, we've been looking over your records. But guess what, man? This thing is not gonna kill you. So here's what we're gonna do. So we have a clinical trial that's newly developed. It's got a 99% success rate, and we think you're a good candidate for it. We don't think you're good. There's several different therapies that you can go through, chemo, radiation, all this kind of stuff. This is called it's called the seed therapy. That's common language. It's called the seed therapy, where they actually insert 14 karat gold seeds in the affected area of the prostate, and then you go through low grade radiation. I went through 5 radiation treatments. I know guys who have gone through 40 radiation treatments, 45 radiation treatments. Can you imagine what that's doing to the body, right? So with this clinical trial, because it was so successful, I decided to go with it. And I told the doctor, look, man, one or two things gonna happen. Either I'm going in and coming out, or I'm going in and I ain't never coming out. I got a 50-50 chance. Let's do this. Right. And it was, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours in the hospital, I believe it was. And I take one capsule, tamacillin, everybody calls it something different. But I take one capsule every day in the morning. Some people have to take in the morning, some people take in the middle of the day. You got to find your sweet spot and see what works for you, right? But I still have my prostate. But you have men that's losing their prostate at 40 years old when they shouldn't be losing their prostate at 40 years old.
So how do we create this shift of getting more men to get the screening and to become more aware? What do you feel like are those innovative ways to really have these conversations that are going to be impactful to where we can start really seeing a change? Because like you said, people, they're just not getting screenings. They're not talking about it. They just don't know. So how do you see it as an opportunity to really get innovative with shifting this?
Look, through education is always going to be key in everything you do. So through education and resources. So how do we do that? We do that by these events that we put on an annual basis. We have our event coming up May 18th. It's this year is called the We Can Win. It's called Together We Win Symposium 2024. It deals with prostate and breast cancer in the African American communities. We just added breast cancer last year because of the alarming numbers of African American women who were being diagnosed and dying from breast cancer, right? So the immediate solution is to get these people under one roof where they can listen to medical professionals, radiologists, oncologists, urologists, dietitians, people like yourself who deals with healthy eating. Because of course, diet is a big thing. You know, we go at it all the time about me and fried chicken, right? So
And the Boston baby.
yeah, they're my Boston baked beans, right? So diet and exercise is a big part of this thing. But the main thing is to get these folks into a doctor's office and have a PSA test done and figure out whether or not they're at risk for having prostate cancer. But we have these fears, right? We think about 80 years ago, Tuskegee. First thing pops in our mind. You know, we're being used as examples or experiments. I was just in Toronto, Canada, a couple of weeks ago to sit on a multi-million-dollar uh, uh, grant review panel, and I read some numbers coming from different parts of the United States that was so alarming. And mind you, now I had just completed about a month ago. I had just completed uh, a certification for health equity through the CDC because I was driven to find out why there was so much disparity in health inequities in the Black communities. And when I saw the numbers, I was astounded. I'm like, in 2024, there's hospitals where Black folks still can't go. That's insane. That's insane. And so I said to these folks, so we have multi-million-dollar nonprofits who are supporting other multi-million-dollar nonprofits, but when you come to what we call boots on the ground, community nonprofits, you don't support us. But this is where this is the meat of it all, right here, because we see it, we hear it, we listen to the stories, we hug folks, we wipe away tears. I'm talking about grown men crying because either they don't have access to the same health care as our counterparts, or they just don't have insurance or whatever. Look, prostate cancer PSA test, you can get those for free. All you gotta do is do some research and find out who's doing it for free. But we're scared to go to the doctor. So we call it the white coat fear syndrome. We're scared of doctors because doctors do stuff to us that they don't do to other people. Here's a good for instance. I had a guy call me last year during our symposium, saw us on Fox 4 News, called us up, had a discussion with me. He's seeing a urologist. This guy was 52 years old. He's seeing a urologist who says, look, man, you have prostate cancer and we need to remove your prostate. So the guy called me, we talking. He said, man, I'm just not comfortable with this guy. So I said, look, man, find you another urologist. Let me refer you out to UT Southwestern. Probably got the best unit in North Texas. Because if you are not comfortable, the medical providers jump ship, go somewhere else. Guess why? Because see, I'm the customer. You work for me. You just got more knowledge than I have, but you work for me. I pay you to come to see you. You see what I'm saying? This guy went to UT Southwestern, had a PSA test done. I think they did an MRI. Come to find out, the guy's numbers were perfectly fine, and his prostate was perfectly fine. What am I trying to say? The difference between health equity and health inequity are things like this. Here's this guy was about to have his prostate removed by a doctor other than us for no reason, except for
and
money.
it doesn't even sound like he gave him much grounds for even the suspicion for what it was that he believed it was. Right. But you hit on it a little bit because you said we talk about food, and you're talking about partnerships and on the panel and the inequities. But since you said food, y'all, in the description of this video is your anti-inflammatory guide. Get the guide. It has fruits, vegetables, spices, herbs, and you got 5 juice and smoothie recipes so you can really start eating better. So you start eating the foods that are good for you and good to you to kind of help reduce inflammation, which starts to lead into more chronic conditions. But I want to talk about the partnership that you have, or the collaboration that you have with Commissioner Roy Brooks, and how aligning with the organizations like Healthy Lives Matter enhances the mission of We Can Win.
Yeah. So I had the unique and distinct pleasure of meeting Commissioner Brooks a couple of years ago, and prostate cancer survivor. His brother was actually a medical doctor who died from prostate cancer because he didn't go get his prostate. Now you're a medical doctor. You checking your brother. You're your brother's doctor who's struggling with prostate cancer, but you didn't go get yours checked. He ended up dying from it. It was his younger brother. So it's make it make sense, right?
That one I can't.
So you have these different disparities because again, health insurance, certain hospitals we can't go to. So it takes partnerships, it takes collaborations. Like Commissioner Brooks has a big event right around Valentine's Day every year. And it's been very successful over the years. So, my partnerships with the American Cancer Society, Zero Prostate Cancer, Boston Scientific, who we just became partners with this year, Telex, another pharmaceutical company who we just became partners with this year. these are major milestones that we were able to capture, thank God this year. And these guys are seeing what we're doing, and they're looking for organizations like ours who are in the prostate cancer space in the African American community. Look, we're one of two African American owned nonprofits in Texas that do what we do. That's insane. You mean tell me nobody has enough concern about our people to bring us together and talk about this thing? It's crazy, And so,
Agree. And I feel like, and I don't know exactly what his event looks like, but when we were talking about getting innovative in order to have people come learn, because you said they're just sitting out on the couch, they're not going anywhere doing things. It's just
right,
kind of like sometimes I feel like people have to go to them. Like sometimes people say you got to go to the barbershop or you
right,
got to go to the hair salon where people are going to be because of the things that they value already to
yeah,
have these real conversations. You got to meet the people where they are. And I think it's going to matter to you and impact you when it's someone you know or love who has been impacted by the thing that you now find purposeful. Like I hate the fact that it was his own brother, but now that his brother suffered with it, you got somebody that you can partner with because they have they're invested to a certain degree
yeah,
because they've been impacted by it. And I just feel like sometimes you have to find those partnerships and collaborations that really align for you to do even more work together because it's really no competition. It's only collaboration.
right.
And when you really put that energy in that collaboration, you can do more of what it is that you want to do and what you want to get done. And when you try to keep so much to yourself or over here, over there, and you don't want to let people in, it doesn't do anything but continues to be a disservice. And that's not even why we're in the business that we're in when it comes to actually helping people. But you talked about going to Toronto. And then I know you always tell me about going to DC. So you're very, very in on the advocacy. So you've advocated on Capitol Hill for prostate cancer awareness and education. Could you discuss some of the legislative hurdles and victories that you've encountered so far?
Well, so listen. So I have a relationship with Zero Prostate Cancer out of Virginia, and so we go to DC every year. This is my second year, and so we do a bunch of training. We get there on a Sunday. We do a bunch of training all day Monday, and then Tuesday we go to the Hill where we actually meet with either our congressional or senatorial representatives or their aides to talk about these different bills that Zero has presented. Um, and the ultimate outcome is to try to get these guys, these senators and congressmen, to sign off on these bills to help eliminate or reduce the cost of PSA testing. Because although it may seem like it's not a lot of money to someone else, when you get a family, and I always use this example, if you have a family of four in a pretty, not so elegant neighborhood to keep it cute, in other words, if you're in the hood, let's keep it real. If you got a family
Please.
in the hood, right? You got a family in the hood, four of them, a wife, a husband, two kids. Only the husband works. They're already struggling. And so you're asking this guy to take $65 out of their monthly budget, you know, for that 1 month to go get a PSA test. That $65 in that household could mean that that family won't eat for a week. You understand what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so we go to these guys and say, look, man, get it in your head. How do you have $150,000, to $150 million that's going towards breast cancer, but you only have $120 million that's going toward prostate cancer that's killing black men like we bugs or something. You see what I'm saying? And so the advocacy portion of it that Zero has so well orchestrated over the years causes even if it's a small victory, to have two or three congressmen or senators sign off on a bill that presented to the floor in the House of Representatives or the Senate and say, look, we got to do something about this, man, because it's taking out a whole race of people and nobody's paying any attention to it. So a lot of it has to do, again, with health inequity. We're not getting this, we don't get the same treatment. We can't go. course, the same doctor. I'm blessed. I'm a very blessed man because I'm 100% VA disabled, so I can go to any VA hospital. But that's me. I'm a little bitty guy. But what about the hundreds of thousands of other African American men around the country that don't have access to good health care? So we go and we talk to these guys and say, man, look, get a life. Understand this. No, it may not affect your people, but it's affected my people. And when I go, look, I'm so passionate about this thing. These folks actually, I've seen them stop and look at me and like, was he about to break down or what? Because I get that emotional about it. I've had friends that die from prostate cancer. That's insane. Younger than me. I'm 69 years old. You know, I've had friends that die younger than me from prostate cancer.
Me too. I had two line sisters younger than me, one leukemia, another breast cancer. And it's just like, and with that, it drove even more of an intention on how I care for myself. As you get these diagnoses, you understand what's going on inside of your body, and you start saying, okay, what am I going to do to change? And as you're changing, you're finding ways that it's actually working for you, and you're seeing numbers improve, and you're seeing, how your health status is improving. You're like, I don't want this just for me. I want this for other people too.
Right.
And so I'm going to make sure I do everything I can to empower them to really understand how precious their life is, and how every decision that they make can either push you forward to the life that you deserve, you can have, or continue to cause you more problems and issues where you're going to always be second guessing, how good am I, and how good will life really be for me? And I think that passion is what we have to keep alive and keep burning, because you're right, there is no equity in a lot of things when it comes to the African American community, and we're done with equality. It's not equality, it's equity. The same amount of resources to be able to get to the same level where other people are getting. That type of access is what is needed.
Exactly.
And you said you are blessed. I am too, but more so, I was privileged. I was privileged to have a healthcare providers that knew me and loved me, because my primary care physician was a Sarah. My nurse practitioner underneath her was a Sarah, and they were able to understand what I was going through, hear what my pain level was and what didn't sit well, tell me to go to the ER to get that imaging, go into the ER, seeing that large cyst on my right ovary now allowed us to get answers, because now we see what's going on, not just you're feeling this or feeling that when it comes to symptoms. And that put me on the go. There's people who've had to wait 10 years, 20 years before they could get an endometriosis diagnosis to start knowing how they needed to try to change their life. And it's those things that sometimes people take for granted. But it's the reason why we go so hard, is because we want other people to be able to live in that liberation of knowing what's happening in their body so they can do something about it. And then telling other people about it, And I think that's the big part about it. So I want to know, because, we got the symposium coming up. We got the Together We Win coming up. What are the key objectives you hope to achieve? And how can people that are attending really benefit by participating in this event?
So listen, we hope to educate and enlighten the lives of those who come, who are in attendance at this symposium. We have a breast cancer specialist. We have a prostate cancer specialist. We have Boston Scientific. And let me just park right there for just a second. Then I'll keep moving. Boston Scientific is going to present on the sexual side of prostate cancer surgery, sexual wellness after prostate cancer surgery, because a lot of men won't go and have prostate issues. That have prostate issues, don't want the surgery, because the first thing they say, well, it's going to affect my sex life. And if my sex life is affected, it's going to ruin my household. Again, health inequities. These guys don't know. Listen, when I was in DC, I had a hard conversation with Boston Scientific. I could not believe the technology has put us in a place where men who have sexual side effects from prostate cancer surgery, there's stuff out there, products and whatever you might want to call them, prosthetics more or less, that will allow that man to live a normal, healthy sex life, right? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Of course, there's Viagra, there's Cialis, there's Levitra, but then there's implants, and I mean, just I was totally blown away when I saw how this thing worked. I'm like, good Lord, man, really,
And I
99%.
think that's really something important to talk about, Dr. Wright, because I was on an endometriosis webinar and they talk about how people with endometriosis, sometimes one of those main symptoms is painful intercourse. And
Right,
so they had these, I don't want to call them toys, but they have these gadgets and
right,
devices that allow for things to happen. So that way it's more pleasurable and you can still enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. And
yeah,
that's a big thing. That's a big concern. Like, I'm glad you brought that into the conversation because sexual health is still important,
right,
not just
right,
to the household, but to a person's being.
yeah,
And being able to have people specialize in those areas to really be creative and innovative on how to approach these health issues by still allowing you to enjoy other things, that's
right.
big. Because I know
So,
you talked about a young woman, and I don't know if she's going to be at the symposium or not, that you've been talking to that really helps with the sexual health and allowing people to really get that confidence back and to really embrace that life and giving them, options. I think that needs to be more exposure in that area so people know it is okay and what can still be enjoyed about it by still making sure you're still here. Because if you're not here, ain't no need for you to be worried about what's happening in the bed.
that's right. That's right. Look, we had scheduled one of the best in the country, Dr. Daniela Whitman, and then because of some family obligations, she had to back out. But uh, I should know tomorrow who's going to be the replacement doctor, who's going to actually speak on behalf of Boston Scientific, because that's what they deal with. They deal with sexual wellness after prostate cancer surgery. And to hear some of the testimonies from some of the clients, some of their wives, about their penile implants, some of the other products. There's the product that they use, a prosthetic that they use to control incontinence, and the stuff that they have, the things that they have, is to allow men to have as normal a life as possible after prostate cancer surgery. You see, and so we make jokes and we play games, but if you want to live a normal, healthy sex life after prostate cancer surgery, bro, there's a lot of stuff out there for you to do. Go ahead on and get it, and you ain't got to tell nobody. Anybody gonna know but you and your girl.
Right.
And look, in our communities, and these are stories that I've heard in our communities, if the bedroom if the bedroom satire changes, it causes us to go into depression. The wife is tripping, especially if it just starts happening. You just stop, and the wife is looking like, "Bro, what's the matter? You cheating on me or something like that?" But because you're not having those conversations, which is another issue. You got to talk about this thing, Giovanni. You got to talk about it. You got to have a village. Otherwise, you're gonna die, and you're gonna die all by yourself, right? Because you leave everybody guessing and wondering, well, wonder what happened. Why? What killed them? Nobody knows because he never talked about it. Had a great niece of mine just lost her fiance about a month ago because he didn't want to have a conversation about prostate cancer. That prostate cancer metastasized, got into his liver, took him out of here. 63 years old, 62 years old, you know. And so because we don't have the conversation, for instance, my kids, my wife, my friends, all of them know I have prostate cancer. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. All of them know. And I've had issues where at times you go through these little states of depression. And you need to have somebody that can recognize those signs to come in and say, hey, you good? You all right? You need to talk? You know, I mean,
And
just
what has helped you, Dr. Wright? Because that's a good point right there. And we're about to go into May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month.
right.
What do you feel like are some ways that people can cope with depression? Of course, go see an actual mental health provider or a therapist, but what are some strategies or coping skills that you found, even being someone who's had prostate cancer, that has helped you?
You got to talk about it. You have to have someone that you can talk to about it. I mean, ever since I've known you, we've had a million conversations about endometriosis and prostate cancer because I've been in the endometriosis space. I was married to a woman who had endometriosis and had that surgery and all that kind of stuff. So I understand. But you got to have somebody you can talk to because, I mean, yeah, I can have a conversation with God all day. I'm really spiritual and religious or whatever they might want to call it, but I have a connection with God. I can talk to God all day long and he's going to answer me, right? But it's in those times where, I'm sitting in the office working and then all of a sudden my mind drifts into prostate cancer. Somebody that reached out to me and I didn't have too much conversation for him because I was going through my own thing. Look, if you don't talk about it, you're going to die from it. That's what's going to happen.
If you don't talk about it,
you're going to die
you're
from
going to die from it.
It'll kill you. It will kill you. So, from time to time, even me and my wife, from time to time, we just have little candid conversations about prostate cancer. It's a household word in my house. We talk about it all the time. The same with breast cancer. We talk about it all the time.
What do you think is going to take us to, as a community, as a culture, to really just start having real, raw conversations without worrying about what other people are going to think, being judged, or trying to be so secretive? Because, like you said, if you hold it in, that's still energy, tension that you're storing in your body that's only going to react in your body but so many different ways that's not healthy because you don't have a way of getting it out and releasing it. So it's going to show up as potentially cancer. It's going to show up as cysts. It's going to show up as fibroids. It's going to show up as, heart problems, like all of these different things based on you unable to truly release and let go and get stuff out. So if you're not comfortable with talking, or if what are we going to do? How do we start really just being out there with these conversations so it gets people talking? Because you talked about this the last episode that you were on with Black men, and just in your family, men don't talk about their health, not even with their other sons. So how do we normalize this conversation?
Look, so I tell these guys, man, stop being scared, because in my opinion, that you're scary. You're afraid to have that conversation. Look, you think I care about what somebody says about me? I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. It is what it is. I'm not going to change that. But if I'm having the conversation with someone and I'm going through a depressive state, that person could be the person that saves my life that particular day. Look, men commit suicide behind this because they don't talk about it. You got to talk about it, right? And I've always been, I used to have a radio show called Let's Talk About It, because in our community, we don't want to talk. We just want to be big, bold, bad men. Yeah, well, big, bold, bad men get buried too, just like the lightweights. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be able to release this stuff, because like you said, if you hold it in, it's going to cause undue stress, unnecessary disease, unnecessary body changes, and, your mind and all this stuff starts doing crazy stuff, start playing tricks on you. So when we put together these symposiums, it allows men to come into a safe spot, and women to come into a safe space where they can have these discussions and have them candidly, and listen to doctors who actually care about what's going on in the African American community. You see what I'm saying? And so when these doctors, and that's what I love about UT Southwestern, because I know for a fact they may be a different skin color than I am, but these guys and these ladies are concerned about the numbers in the African American communities, and they're always asking me, Dr. Wright, what can we do next? What can we do to get these guys to come and give them a car? Well, the hospital ain't gonna give you no car, bro. So you might well just ride your bike and come on to the hospital. Let's just keep it real. And so none of us can do this alone.
Agreed.
Together we can win.
Agreed. So, and even if it's not even a symposium, Dr. Wright, I still think, like, And it just came to my head because, you know, support groups are out there. It's
Absolutely.
really going to where people are. Like, I know you're getting ready to go to like a golf tournament, but I don't think people talk a lot at golf. I don't know, but I'm just thinking like events and places where people can come and do something, but
Right.
talk at the same time. So it takes them away from feeling so apprehensive of being open and not wanting to be vulnerable, you know. And I think it's beautiful to be at a symposium because you got all of this medical professionals and organizations that are experts and really, you know, invested in the conversation and what's really happening when it comes to the disparity. But sometimes, like you said, if you're not going to sit with them on the couch to have these conversations, you have to meet them where they are or create spaces where they're able to show up and get the information. And so we start peeling back the layers. So we talk. And, you know, we work at an all girls school. And so knowing, because it's not a period situation, but knowing that your menstrual cycles play a role, and when you have certain symptoms, it starts to show you what's not normal in the body. Just asking my students, you know, who has painful periods and they're slow. Class full of girls, no other boys, and so you clearly know we all having this, and they're still apprehensive in a class full of girls, and you'll have some people start to raise their hand. And it has to take the first person, and then once you see that, then other people will start raising their hand to kind of talk about the fact that, you know what, yes, I have painful periods. And that right there, that's children. And so can you only imagine grown people not wanting to really be visible and say what's going on with them and being honest and being real? And I think that's what it boils down to, really being honest and being real. I am a man. I have a prostate. I need to get this checked. That point blank, period. Like that's just what it boils down to. But if you don't want to get that checked out, why not? And you say you scared. Somebody else, you might not really understand what it means to even have a prostate. And look at you, Dr. Wright. You just told us not too long ago, it wasn't until 50 that you knew you even had one.
Didn't even know.
So that's what I'm saying. And so then it comes into, when do we start educating people about this? Because now, being a teacher and sitting in a classroom with middle school girls who have a period and it's painful, I remember being in the 6th grade and coming home and being sick after eating something I'm thinking is food poison at school cafeteria, the country kitchen line, having some lasagna. And it was really nausea and how things were happening with my period. And I didn't even associate the two. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to start getting this at a younger age. Because sometimes when people are set in their ways, it's so much harder to peel back those layers. And I can only imagine the type of work and messaging that you're going to have to give at the symposium to really get people to really understand what's happening. But the fact that they're coming, they're at least aware and know that it's important information to get. It's those other people that we got to get into the room to really make sure, you know, it's happening. But my attendees, because we're talking about the room, for those looking to attend the symposium, what advice would you give them to get the absolute most out of this event?
Look, just come, sit in the audience, relax, listen to what these doctors are going to be saying, listen to what the survivors are going to be saying, listen to the caregivers. Right, caregivers are some folks you don't talk a whole lot about, but their job is even more. It's worse than the survivor, because these are the guys that's on 24-hour watch, especially if you're in a stage type of cancer, prostate cancer, or any other kind of cancer. So sit and listen attentively.
And let's just pause right there, Dr. Wright, and shout out to the caregivers, because I don't feel like caregivers are really given the light and the love that they absolutely deserve, because caregiving isn't easy. And for the most part, it's even hard for them to put themselves first, because they're so invested in giving care to other people. And that wears on them because they're doing so much to take care of other people. And so I just wanted to say, like, shout out to the caregivers that are really pouring in and being a backbone to these people who are trying to have this journey of strength and come through. So I just wanted to say that, because I don't think we hear enough about caregivers, whether they're family caregivers or people outside that's not even your family, that have to tap in and really provide, that become family. But go ahead, Dr. Wright.
I mean, look, caregivers are the neglected source, right? they neglect themselves, their health. They don't eat correctly. My sister, 84 years old, just lost her husband recently. 85-year-old guy. She took care of him. He started getting sick about maybe 15 years ago, and she put all of her energy into taking care of her husband. When he passed, they had been married 63 years, right? And she put all that energy into making sure he was good, but she neglected herself. She lost weight. She wasn't eating right. We called him our Superman, but we buried him a couple of weeks ago, and I talk to my sister like every other day, and I'm listening to her now. Her voice is stronger. She's eating more because now she's paying attention to herself. Same happens in the prostate cancer space or the breast cancer space, right? Caregivers are there to make sure that the patient is well, but oftentimes they forget about themselves, right? So this year at the symposium, we have a few inaugural things going on. So we have two CEO awards that's going to be awarded. We have the Pink Butterfly Award that's going to be given to a breast cancer survivor of 14 years. And then we have a Survivor Caregiver Award that we're going to be presenting this year. Um, and also, we're hoping that everything works out. We'll have our first inaugural education assistant scholarship. It's called the Together We Win. It's called the Dr. Edward W. Wright Senior Together We Win Educational Assistance Scholarship. So it's $1,000 scholarship that we want to give. We were looking to try to give it in the prostate or breast cancer space, but people just wasn't coming forward. So we're going to find a deserving senior so that we can, continue to do what we do as far as education is concerned. But at the symposium, uh, sit here, listen to these doctors, ask questions. That's what we want you to do. We want you to ask those hard questions. I have the conversation. You mentioned the golf tournament. I'm very intentional about having conversations about prostate cancer. I'm intentional about it. I have a vendor table at the golf tournament. Now, that may not be as effective as being in a closed space. I guarantee you, somebody's gonna come and want to hear about prostate cancer, right? And I guarantee you, if I talk to 5 men, two of those 5 men are not gonna know anything about prostate cancer. Guaranteed, right? But the Lord has really blessed me where I've been able to travel around the country. We now have an international presence, and I'm able to do all of these different conferences. I'm a proud brother of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So I've been doing a lot of their conferences and talking to brothers at the conference. We have 153,000 Sigmas around the world. Can you imagine if I can touch 1/3 of those guys in one space and enlighten them? When I have guys that come into this workspace, or come into the space of the workshops and leave out, and here's what they say to me: "Man, I have never heard this kind of information about prostate cancer in the Black community." So that's my drive, Giovanni. That's my drive. Just like your drive for endometriosis. It's a drive that we have to make sure that we bring equity into our communities. You see, and you know, look, when God gives you an assignment, He's going to make sure that you are fit for that assignment and that you're equipped for that assignment. And sometimes it blows my mind how things just fall into place. I was on 2 phone calls today that blew me away because people are talking about what we're doing and we don't even know they're talking about what we're doing, right? Until we get a phone call. Say, hey, is this Dr. Wright from We Can Win? Yes, it is. Well, you know what? I heard about what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? And so the symposium is a place of comfort. People can come. Look, it's $20 for the reservation, the registration rather. $20 for the registration. It includes entrance into the symposium, all the material, all the swag. There's gonna be giveaway stuff there. There's gonna be raffles. One of my sorors and her husband has an insurance company. They have already contacted me and said, listen, our company has already purchased a 43-inch television that we're going to raffle off at your event at our table.
Beautiful.
It, and so we were waiting for a call back from Lowe's. We reached out to them, and last year we were able to secure a barbecue grill that we were able to give away. I mean, it's just the simple stuff. You come, we got something for you, right? And so there's gonna be a lot of swag, a lot of door prizes, a lot of vendors that you can talk to. You're gonna be there, so folks will learn about healthy eating, you know, and how to fix those smoothies. Which we're gonna have to talk about those smoothies. I need to get together with you on those smoothies. I like smoothies, but there's gonna be vendors like yourself. Parkland Hospital, Methodist Hospital is going to be there. Moncrief Comprehensive Cancer Center. We'll be talking about mammograms and breast cancer in the African American community. Carter Blood Care is going to be there. Talking about, look, y'all need to donate some blood because it's our blood that they have a shortage of, right? I don't get it. Why we always got to have a shortage of our stuff? That's helping our people, right? But so UT Southwestern is going to be there. Again,
So tell everybody where it is, Dr. Wright. Where is it? The time, so they can pull up if they're able to.
So it's going to be at Center of Life United Methodist Church at 220 South Cockrell Hill Road, here in the city of DeSoto. May 18th starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. It runs till 3 o'clock in the evening. We're going to serve y'all lunch that's catered by the real Chef Duke, who's like my real play sister. I love her. That girl can do it up. But she's going to cater for us. And, then we'll have a question and answer session. We'll have presentation sessions by all these different vendors and stuff like that. But May 18th starts at 10 o'clock, Center of Life United Methodist Church. It's right on the corner of Cockrell Hill and Beltline Road in DeSoto. Can't miss it. Great, big, beautiful church. It sits like right off the corner. It's not exactly on the corner, but it sits right off the corner. It's right across the street from the EOS gym, and easy to find, right? Now, I'm going to make an announcement on our social media pages probably tomorrow, because we had two very generous donors who are going to donate some tickets. So we're going to give the amount tomorrow. For some people that may want to come and they just don't have the $20, then we have a certain amount of tickets that we're going to announce tomorrow. First come, first serve, because of these generous donors, and to get these people in the house, both male and female. Look, the event is open to men and women 18 and over. People might say, well, why you want to have such young people there? Because we need to educate them now for the future, if that makes sense. So we can win.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, perfect sense. I mean, and the symposium, when I started putting the symposium together back in February of this year, I didn't want to continue to use we can win and become synonymous. And so I was sitting around trying to figure out, and it hit me, we can't do this alone, but together we win. And I'm like, oh wow, that's powerful. So that's gonna be our symposium for the rest of this time that I'm here on earth. Together we win, right? Because I may share something with you, you may share something with me, and the results of that is gonna be a winner, right? But I couldn't have come up with that solution by myself. I needed your input to make this a winner. There's gonna be people there. I'm telling you, there's gonna be people there that's gonna get emotional. They're gonna be crying. They're gonna be laughing. They're gonna get mad, So it's gonna be a plethora of emotions in that house, right? But at the end of the day, people are gonna walk out there and go and make appointments to see their medical doctors. And look, I was talking to my little cousin this morning, 54 years old in California, say, have you ever had a PSA test? No, man, but I'm having a sonogram. No. I said a PSA test. Tell your doctor you need to have a PSA test. Let's just get it right, right? My son, 42 years old. I asked him a few months ago, have you ever had a PSA test? You see, so that's how we got to do this thing. We got to keep sharing it and keep sharing it and keep sharing it. It's just like your thing. Sooner or later, these women going to catch it, right?
Yeah.
At least your thing, there's some symptoms you women go through. You get prostate cancer, there are no symptoms. You may start going to the restroom a little bit more, but that's not a symptom. That can be caused.
And I think
anything.
And you have to kind of know that something's going on with your body, because unlike a lot of my other people with endometriosis, some of them are in debilitating pain almost every day of the month, or when it's around their period. They have more painful days than they have good days. And I only had 2 majorly debilitating, painful days in my life that led me down the path that I knew something was wrong. And one time I thought it was just food poisoning or something just not settling right, you know? And then if I had not gone and got that screening, I wouldn't have known what was going on in my body. And so a lot of times people do call it an invisible disorder or condition, but it's those small things that happen in your body that you think are just stuff that you can pass by, and it's not. And it's probably, and I don't know, Dr. Wright, I don't know if you always felt vibrant every single day, or you've ever felt something was just slightly off. But clearly, when they looked at your stuff and saw something, they were like, something's a little off. Let's check in on something. They saw something a little off. But it's that mind-body connection. When you're really aware of your body and what's really going on, and you're in tune with it, you're more aware of what's really happening. When you're not connected and you just living life in the fast lane, doing whatever, how you want to do it, because you just want to live life, you're not going to be able to pick up on the things that might be trying to tell you, hey, something ain't right. You might want to check in on a little something. So just the fact that you're having the conversation and just asking, hey, when the last time you got a PSA test? PSA, what do you mean? A public service announcement test? What you talking about? PSA? What's the PSA? You know what I'm saying? You're putting that in there. Because even your son said, well, nah, Dad, but you just talked about prostate cancer is not a foreign word or vocabulary word in your household, but PSA wasn't setting for him, and once his dad got it, that could have been something he was going to be take serious from here on out, because yours was as small as the point on a pen. And thank goodness for the privilege and the passion you had to serve your country, to be able to have access, the healthcare access that you have, that was afforded you the opportunity to know more about your body. So I think those are big pieces. But I'm excited for the symposium. I'm grateful to be a vendor at the symposium, because I really believe that mindset, and you hit that on when you talked about depression. We talked about it when we talked about stress management, and just connecting with yourself. That's when I think of mindset. It's your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself, but how you cope with life. Life skills that you have to handle the hard things in life, resilience building. And then you have mindful eating. And I'm good on this because I'm changing, and I have been changing my lifestyle and my relationship around food. And it's been a great one for me, because I feel better, and I know that my body's responding well to the way that I am eating and mindful of the foods that I'm eating. And then it goes into movement, how you're moving, because if you're not grateful for the body that you do have, and you're not moving it the way you should, the moment that you're unable to do the things you really wanted to do, that's when now you wish you had time to get back into really moving the body. And it's the simple things of just walking, and we're not saying hit the gym, do a high intensity training. We're just saying walk, move, stretch, stretching your body. Like, all of these things play a part in reducing your pain. It plays a part in reducing inflammation. It just helps your body get more in tune with you. So I'm excited about being at the symposium. I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to be around all of these people that are just empowered about living a good life, and know that it's possible and it's what they deserve. So the information for the symposium will be in the link in the description of this video. So with the website that you can go to for We Can Win, so you can tap in and support. You're hearing all these other people that are supporting. You heard his mission, you heard his passion, you heard his story, and you see how he's impacting other people. You see he's gotten a scholarship that's out there. So if you can, if it's $20, that's something better than the $20 he didn't have beforehand to continue to move his mission forward. And it's nonprofits like We Can Win that allow us to really be a resource and a visible vibe for people who need it most. So thank you, Dr. Wright, for coming through. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of it. But most importantly, I just hope that you continue to lead We Can Win to even higher levels, and take it places that it hasn't been reached before, because you're living a life full of purpose, full of life, but most importantly, you care about the fact that you want us all to win, and we need to win together. It's not about you able to win your battle, but all of us winning our battles whenever that battle comes to our front door. So thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni. What I need you to do right now, if you got any type of value and you felt any type of good vibe that's going to empower your life, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on any of your favorite podcast distribution platforms, please give the show a follow and a rating and support the channel to help us continue to move the mission forward of being visible on our journeys of strength. And if you're looking for a healthy habits and lifestyle coach, link in the description of the video so I can help you take it one step at a time to live the life that you truly deserve. So we love you. We thank you. We hope to see you at the symposium, Together We Win Symposium. Yeah, now we can win the Together We Win Symposium, May 18th. All the information is below. But we love you. We thank you. But most importantly, stay empowered. And thanks for vibing with us, y'all.
See ya. Peace out.